am Scott Stein at CNET. I'm lucky to sit down today after or during Meta Connect to talk with Meta CTO Andrew Bosworth, who I've spoken to before, as a number of smart glasses are coming out. This is a big launch of smart glasses, also getting into territories that we've talked about for years, or I've been following for years, things like neural input wristbands, heads-up display. Let's get into it. You're wearing the Meta Ray-Ban display glasses.
Let's see, can you tell when the display is on or not?
So it's on.
It's on now.
Yeah, I was saying when I wrote this up, I cannot tell at all.
Yeah.
I cannot tell at all. And I didn't even, there's like a slight bit of a hint of, I was saying there's no reflection, but there's a little bit of a thing on the side.
So if you look, this is like, we've got a fun clear pair, by audience demand. These ones are, a lot of times we'll do this when we're building them to make sure we have a good view of the inside of the electronics. Mm-hmm. And there's a little challenge trying to launch something like this would be a problem because light could get caught into the input gratings. Okay. And that is what you're seeing here at the edge. These little lines, that's the input grating. So you've got the LCOS display shooting light down into those pipes. Those pipes shoot it out, and the output gratings are completely invisible here in the substance of the lens.
Yeah, usually when I see if people do happen to see display glasses, and I didn't even notice that during my demo, and then afterwards I realized, okay, there are those little lines. Usually you see those like hazy patches on the lens. How did you get around that?
So there's a bunch of different types of waveguides. So these are geometric waveguides. So for example, the waveguides that we had on Orion last year, those are a completely different type. And surface relief gratings, which is what that kind of is, there's an almost at an angle, like a 45-degree angle, there's kind of a dull patch. Surface relief gratings have some advantages and some disadvantages. Advantages are brightness and efficiency is very, very high. They're using mirrored surfaces effectively instead of just the total internal reflection of light. And so that's nice. You get a great crispness. You can get great resolution in there. There are some downsides on field of view. It's hard to push them to super large field of view, and manufacturability can be tougher as well. And so each of these different waveguides and different materials dramatically changes the optical properties that you have. I think it's pretty hard to beat the 2% light leakage that we've managed to get these down to. Yeah. And there's other ways that you can make this still very, very comfortable for privacy by shunting light down at an angle, so only people who are kind of weirdly below you would have a chance of seeing anything. So there's different ways to play it, but we really maximized for these the efficiency and the brightness that we could get.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at you wearing them, and I've been impressed seeing a lot of it where people go, oh, there's a big glasses or whatever, but there are a lot of big glasses out there. And I think that it looks like a design choice more than what is that piece of tech?
We got a little lucky here. Actually, it was funny. I was having a conversation with Rocco, who's our partner at EssilorLuxottica, and he said, we got lucky. Chunky frames are in right now. And I was like, yes,
yeah.
It's exactly correct. Before we got the cameras rolling, I really do take personally a lot of credit for driving the translucency thing. I think it's just being a 90s kid when translucent plastic was just like a vibe. But we are having a lot of success playing with these semi-translucent ones where it's like, you're not completely obvious at first glance or at a distance that there's electronics there, but we're also not hiding it. It's there for people to see who are so inclined to look. And this is a non-functional band. We couldn't figure out how to do it. Translucent vectoring. But I did think it was kind of a cool thing to show you because you can kind of see the electrodes on the inside and how they're laid out and how they're structured.
I mean, the neural band, I found doing the demo was fascinating, and I left with even more questions. Even though I'm following this for years, and it's questions on all sorts of fronts. The neural input band was the thing that always impressed me the most as far as feeling like a universal interface.
Yeah.
And I'm curious about its range of potential in terms of, right now there's a whole gestural language, and could it be tuned up and down in sensitivity, or does it do that already? And how many other functions do you see it potentially gaining?
It is, once you start using it regularly, you put this on your wrist and you just have it every day.
Yeah.
It becomes infuriating that you're not using it for more things. Like picking up a TV remote when you already have up, down, left, right capability, just on your wrist, feels totally insane. So we think the opportunity for this to be a bigger platform as an input platform over time is really big. And to the technical question, I think basically when we first started building this, the first thing we had to do was build a sufficiently general model that maps electrical signals to a model of the hand. And so literally what this is like inside this machine learned model running on the device is it sees what your hand is doing based on the shape of the electrical signals that are going down. And that is a general enough model that we think that for a huge range of the population, they're gonna put this on and it's gonna work well right away. The more elaborate the gestures, or the more you want to shorthand the gestures and really minimize the amount of muscle movement, the more now the model needs to adapt to you. And so it becomes a co-evolutionary process over time. So stage one is where we are today, which is we've built this device. It has a general purpose model for how people's hands are positioned. But over time, we want that to continue to personalize. So for example, you saw Mark did the handwriting demo on stage yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's a very cool feature, and it works really well for me and for people, but people who write differently. I don't want them to have to adapt to how the system thinks the letter A should be written. I want it to like go the other way.
Right.
And so I think there's a tremendous opportunity as this technology evolves, not only to make it a platform for more devices, but also to make it more personalized.
Connecting with other things, that, I think there's a lot of potential. Obviously, these are made to work specifically with the glasses. How soon do you think it could work with other things? Because to me, that's the, I would go, oh, I want to wear this, but then I think, okay, will I wear it all the time just for the glasses, or I'd want it to work with other things and as soon as possible. Yeah.
We want the same thing. So, in terms of how much time it takes, I mean, the technology is here now for the inputs. Right now, we don't have the bandwidth to have it driving anything other than the glasses, but this is kind of day zero now. So we've gotten to this point, and we're quite proud of it, and we think it's probably the most impressive piece that came out this Connect. It's hard to say, you've got these amazing display glasses, but I actually think this is kind of the star of the show to some degree. We hope that other people have that same experience, and we get a bit of enthusiasm going from a developer community, from appliance designers and manufacturers, that like, hey, what if people do have this? And frankly, we just have to get enough out there for it to be an attractive way for people to think about how they're going to design their products going forward.
I mean, that's what I felt before even the Connect started, guessing if it did come out that this is the centerpiece. I'm curious, when you mentioned adaptability over time, is it something that'll actually be adapting to you even as you use it on day one, or is it something that you imagine that will start to refine? How will that work?
Yeah, today we're still working on kind of population scale. Okay. So generality, it's certainly going to get better as people use it, as we find the failure cases, as more and more of the population gets their hands on it. What's not working, what is working, that is all going to feed this like general model, which is ideally, not too far from any human. But the second phase, which is very exciting, is like, no, legitimately specifically personalizing for you. That's not happening yet. That's something that we are excited about providing to people.
So I'm wearing the Ray-Ban Gen 2 glasses, which I'm starting to put through the paces and see how the battery life goes. The proposition changes a lot with a wristband, with a display, even though it's not always in action. I found when I did the demo, some of it was intuitive, some of it felt like a little swipey, and then, because there's no eye tracking as well versus the Orion demo. And I was curious, where do you see people learning and challenges? Are you using that in public? How do you work in interactions with that? And it's day one for a very different paradigm.
Yeah, well, I'll say there's two levels to this. I mean, one level is we are seeing a strata emerge where there's going to be lots of different AI glasses platforms, AI wearables in general, and people are going to pick the one that fits for their life or for their use case. And they're not always going to wear the display even if they have them. They might sometimes prefer just having the Ray-Ban Metas, whether it be for weight or by context. So I think that is going to exist, and actually we are enthusiastic about people having a preference at one level of the stack or another, and full AR glasses at some point in the top and some other wearables beyond. And then as it relates to the usability, I mean, I'll say, having used this now, honestly, we really only got fully functional prototypes of the Ray-Ban displays maybe a month ago. It did not take me 2 days to get so used to the neural band that when I would put on the Ray-Ban Metas, I would just like be frustrated. I was like, shoot, like I can't, right. It's not working. Like, I want to change the track and I can't change the volume and it's not working. Mark really only got his hands on handwriting like 2 weeks beforehand. And then you saw him on the stage. He's like a 30 word per minute handwriter now. Yeah. It's pretty crazy how fast he picked that up and was able to do it. So we want it to be, as natural as possible, as intuitive as possible. And then, of course, we have an ambition to go even higher to the Orion class of full AR glasses, where you have a little more compute, you have the room for an eye tracking camera, and you've got even another incremental layer of capability. Mm-hmm. And I think one thing that we don't think about that often is when you're doing a flat display where the images are flat, like up, down, left, right, select is a classic way that we've navigated these types of displays for a long time. What's interesting about augmented reality, when you get to full AR, is now you have objects in space, and so you actually have a third dimension. That's very hard to select across. I'm using only up, down, left, right, and select. So gaze becomes actually much more important as an input modality when you're selecting across depth.
Hadn't thought about that, but I definitely thought about it in terms of ease of like saving a step in the navigation, because I found sometimes I would go, maybe I was trying to go back a step and do all of that. I'm curious, it's like in the early days of smartwatches, and when I was reviewing the Apple Watch when it first came out and others, there's always a feeling of like, if it takes too many steps, I'm going to go back to the phone.
100%.
And so I'm curious how that plays out in the early days here, where a lot of stuff that the Ray-Bans do right now is incredibly convenient and very built to very specific uses, and this branches ambitiously into a lot of different other layers.
Well, you've nailed it. It's literally how we think about what features to expose and prioritize in the glasses. We literally took like, what are the top 10, we did a bunch of research, what are the top 10 things people take their phone out of their pocket for? And how do we make those things easier? And yeah, with the Ray-Ban Metas, okay, you got photos and videos and music and calls is actually, those are 3 of the tops. With these, we're adding messaging, navigation, like there's a few other pieces that we're able to add here. Queries now with the Meta AI across both. And so that is literally our North Star, is it has to be easy enough that you don't just like go and do a thing that you're incredibly comfortable and familiar doing, by the way, is pulling something out of your pocket. I think that I'm very confident with how easy to use the UI is. I do think we'll learn how to prioritize what to put in front of you and what not to. Our goal is to like maximize your ability to get the thing done and out of your way and minimize the amount of time that you're on the screen. Like that's our very strong incentive here. And so I'm sure that will adapt a bunch as we see people get into day-to-day usage.
One area you started getting into on Vanguard's actually was more sports and fitness. And I use a Quest headset a lot for Supernatural. It's something I'm always asking every year is about the evolution of the Quest. It's more of a Quest question, but when I stay on glasses, about where things are going on the fitness front. And I saw a few pieces of it here. Are there chances with this heads-up display to do things where you could pair? It seems like an opportunity to pair to a watch, or you're getting a heart rate readout, and I'm curious where things might be with that.
Yeah, we share a passion for the space. Adding fitness to the VR audience was one of the really critical kind of ways that we were growing that segment. When you realize that, okay, it's not going to be enough to just do one piece, you got to really expand the audience into new segments. We've got a tremendous opportunity, we think, where today smartwatches are very fitness oriented. I mean, arguably if not the only, certainly the major use case of smartwatches is fitness. And so our partnership with Garmin, with the Vanguard, and our partnership with Strava with the Vanguard is all about, okay, let's make this ecosystem work better for the people who are in it. I got the chance to use these where I've got the pace monitor as just the LED, and it's just, just telling you red, yellow, green, you're on pace, below pace, and at pace. And it was really important. It really helped me train. Like, it's a really good thing. So that's just such an early thing. Now, of course, to your point, you can imagine putting whether a display like this. There's also lots of other types of displays that could be useful if all you really need is a relatively if heart rate or distance or speed or like lap time. If that's all you need, there's even smaller and lighter weight displays that you could imagine integrating over time. And so we are looking at a huge spectrum of options there. Everything from working with existing manufacturers like our partnerships already to, okay, what does it look like to have a more integrated set of devices? What if it's a set of devices? What if it's not just the band and the glasses? What if you have more going on? So yeah, this is an area of real focus for us.
Yeah, I mean, that's something where with that Garmin partnership, and I think about this, I'm wearing a watch, you're going to wear this neural band on the other wrist. The ideal would be, a watch strap. My mind immediately goes to that. I think, a Garmin or... what are the possibilities you think? I mean, some people wear things like this that are, like a Whoop or other things that are a fitness tracker as well. So I'm curious about like possibilities on the roadmap or time frame in that zone.
Yeah, if you think about what this device is, it's the thing that's probably undervalued is the degree to which we're doing a lot of compute on board here to make sure that we are sending back a really efficient radio signal, really, and of course with very, very low latency. And so we've got to continue to work, and we already have plans, as you can imagine, to miniaturize all those pieces, increase the signal that we're able to get from the wrist, and to put more sensing either here or, to your point, in conjunction with other things like a watch or display. And so, this is definitely just the beginning for us. A really fun thing happens when you have 2 of these, which is you could also do typing. So your ability to go to speed goes way, way up. And that's not a guarantee. This is I'm in the business of leaking things to you, obviously, here.
Because that's something we talked about for years. There's the idea of like some sort of typing, and I'm wondering about.
And we can do the typing with downward-facing cameras pretty effectively, and we did some of those demos before with Orion, and at pretty high speeds. But downward-facing cameras are expensive. They not just cost money, but they're also weight and compute and thermal cost to the idea, the design of the glasses. So if you had the wristbands, and that felt like it was a good value proposition because they're providing you enough value throughout the space of your life. Right. Now it starts to feel like that's a more tenable thing to do.
I have a question on the accessibility landscape, a double zone on accessibility that came to mind in 2 different ways. And first of all, some people have already asked me about that, on social, because it comes to mind. I had a chance to talk to John White, a Paralympic athlete, and he was talking about using these. And the first thing that came to mind, I guess, in the history of EMG that I know of is, I know it's been mentioned in terms of not having much motor control in your hand, or even possibly not having a limb at all. Are there possibilities on the immediate front that this span could be used in that way, or what does it look like?
So we're very enthusiastic about that. We're at the very early stages. Obviously, this thing is trained primarily on a model of people for whom they're sending motor signals down that have very high fidelity to the appendage that they're moving.
Right.
I don't think we've done any of the work yet to understand how it would affect somebody who either previously had a limb and lost it, or who'd never had one. What is their ability to train the device? We don't have all that information yet. I do think at the very least, a thing that we've done in the process of building this neural interface is pioneer some very, very good electrodes that are by far the smallest per unit of energy gathered, basically, that anyone had seen before, and that have a certain degree of robustness, and then a bunch of models that allow us to take, over the course of training, electrical signals and extrapolate to, a model of intention of muscular movements. So there's no fundamental limit here. I think we can do a lot with this technology, and we're enthusiastic about doing that. But I will say, even for what this technology is already, we're pretty enthusiastic about it. Not just for people like John, and then also with the glasses, people who are low vision, being able to gain assistance through the audio, people who are low hearing, being able to get assistance through the display. I think these have a lot of value to create for these communities.
One is on my end, which is my own vision. I know there's a prescription limit right now. I'm a -8. I was bummed.
I know.
I've been asking Alex about it, your head of wearables, and what do you think possibilities are for that? I know there's a chance of doing more. I think the goal for these is obviously to get as many people to wear them as possible.
Yeah, we have exactly right. We have our interests are super aligned. We want these to be something that everyone can wear. Today, one of the challenges of these waveguides is the lenses are very flat. And you can kind of see that they're these perfectly flat lenses. And we do a great job, I think, in the design of making that, something that disappears naturally. But most glasses that you get, the lenses are curved. And that curvature ends up being important for supporting a larger body of lens corrections for vision correction. So these, I think, go to -4 to +4. And we absolutely have a bunch of research, some of it quite promising, on how to do waveguides, incorporating some bend, or how can you bend the non-waveguide part of the glass and still do the lamination.
Yeah.
So there's quite a bit of research that we're doing there. Our goal is definitely to support everyone, and it's always these trade-offs of how soon you can bring it to market versus what's really ready.
I hope it comes next year. And the final question, because it popped up today, and I didn't know that it was even in the cards, because last night I was thinking, there are no apps for glasses, and then there was that whole announcement which was great, of this whole app framework and Disney Imagineering working on things, accessibility purposes. Where do you see that going in the immediate future? Because I see all sorts of possibilities, immersive entertainment, or I don't know, a lot of different directions.
Even industrial. I
industrial,
think if you imagine an application for somebody who's in a situation that's highly technical, is there an ability to bring the glasses into an app that has the full context in the work that they're doing, so they can ask questions relevant to it and has their full context? We see so much opportunity here. This is just the beginning, so you've got an application that with proper permissioning from the user can gain access to the vision and audio that the glasses are gaining, and can close the loop with them through the mechanisms available in the glasses. Over the fullness of time, I really see this as an AI platform. I really see this as, I think it's so unlikely that you're gonna go into your glasses and try to find like the 19th tab of apps to find like your toaster app. I don't believe it.
I hope it works with other AI models too. I don't know if it will, but I would love the flexibility of people to build for it and also have, different AI applications.
As happens so often, Gen 1, you kind of just have to do it yourself. It's always it's the same with the Apple's first iPhone and even the second iPhone. Yeah. You have to start with enough value in the box because it's all you can control. Yeah. Over time, obviously, we hope this becomes a platform that supports like a huge range of consumer applications.
Thank you so much for the time. I have a million more questions, and they would take 4 years to ask them all. I'm going to have even more when I test the glasses, but it's great to connect again.
Cheers,
Connect. Yeah. Thanks,
Cheers.
Wes.
Thank you.
Yeah.